Hi again, I'm Michaela, a junior in Course 1, and I'm here with the final updates on analyzeBoston. I remember, analyzeBoston had to do with the field of civic data science. Civic data science aims to use data science to improve the lives of average citizens. The analyzeBoston Hub recently launched with lots of data sets from the Boston city government. The one that I chose to focus on was called Build BPS, which focuses on school facilities in the greater Boston region. So the Build BPS data has data from every single school in Boston, how many students there are, and what the condition of the building is like, as well as where it's located. Data set, I used R. So R is a statistical programming language that is ideal for analyzing large data sets and finding interesting trends. I analyzed a lot of trends in the beginning, but I decided to narrow in on how the building condition corresponded with the school and therefore the location. Using R, I created ratings for each neighborhood of how well the school buildings were holding up. So, for instance, a neighborhood where all the buildings were given a poor rating would be ranked a 0, where neighborhoods with all the buildings having an excellent rating would obtain a 3. Once I had this data, I wanted to create a visualization that would make it meaningful for the public to let them see what trends were going on in terms of building condition and neighborhoods in Boston. To do this, I first used the JavaScript library Leaflet. So Leaflet is a great JavaScript library that's intended for making interactive maps, which made it ideal for my purposes. I also used an extension called View, which just helped with the way that I laid out my website to make it as user-friendly as possible. And I also used D3 to make the map a little bit more engaging and do some things that I particularly wanted it to do. That brings me to my code. My code is organized into two main components. First is the home page, and the second is what happens when the user interacts with the map. So first you can see all the CSS that's setting up just how the user views the website. And then beyond that, we can see what actually happens when the map is clicked. So this is setting up the map and seeing all the different locations that I've pinpointed that have interesting features. And the second is just what loads when a user interacts with the map. So this brings me to my final project, which is a map that visualizes the data that I found using R. As you can see, this is the home page for the website. On the right is a map that the users can interact with and explore the different neighborhoods in Boston. On the left, some background for the general information and reasoning for this study is provided. So let's interact with one. I'm going to choose Fenway. So when you click on the Fenway one, it's lagging a little bit due to the recording, but on the right you can see how Fenway's schools line up with the Boston average, and you can see the schools that also have the worst conditions. This is done just to give some personal background, because if someone lives in that neighborhood, they likely know students that go to those schools, and so giving particular names might make the issue feel more personal. When you scroll down, there's a call to action. There's a link to go to the Boston City Government's Boston Public Schools Planning Committee website where they're soliciting public comments. And on the right, you can interact with the plan itself directly. So say, for instance, I want to look at their report, and I click on their report. You are immediately linked to their homepage, which shows their 230-page report. So if you want to find out more, you can. Otherwise, we can return back to the map and explore a different neighborhood. Overall, this project went fairly well. Most of the risks that I predicted in part 1 of this project ended up not being that big of a factor at all. While some of the JavaScript libraries were tricky to learn, they were all feasible to learn within the month-long window that we've had for this project. However, there's still some extensions that I'd like to add that I unfortunately didn't have time for. One that I feel like would be particularly interesting is mapping income disparity across the neighborhoods and seeing if they correlate with the condition of Boston's public schools. However, that's a future project, and I feel like the work that we have now is still useful for the public to see how neighborhoods correlate with the condition of Boston's public schools. That's all for now. Thanks from analyzeBoston.